Ooh, I just got a little notification on Zoom that I have too many recordings on Zoom now, so I need to clean it out. Of course, of course. We've been doing these for a long time now. It originally started during COVID, and here we are. Many years later, it feels like. It feels like a lifetime later for most of us. Okay, so second week of the year, which is not a lot of weeks, but man, it's moving so fast. Either that or we're all just getting older. Maybe a combination. I don't know. So this morning we've got Valencia, which will be really, really fun to talk to her. So let's just go ahead and start with our shout outs this morning. Who in your world you've got a shout out? It could be your colleague, yourself, that you are really just like crushing it, and like nobody's tooting your horn, you better toot it yourself, right? Could be gratitude for anything going on. I'm going to start with Alicia. Good morning, Alicia.
Good morning. I want to shout out a couple of people. First and foremost, I want to shout out Andrew for the past 3 years, helping us build a really big life together and build a big business together. And I'm super grateful that that he did it alongside of me. It's really cool. But also want to shout out just Place in general, and you and Laura Castillo and Brandon for, and Ben for pouring into us. We had a wild ride the last 3 years, and 3 years ago, I said that I was going to build a big enough business where Andrew could step away and go and do whatever he wanted. And so he just took a position with Texas State baseball and starts on Saturday. And so it's really cool. I thought it would take me longer than 3 years, but we grinded it out and we did it in 3 years. So I'm super excited that he gets to go and live his dream now.
I love that. And Alicia, I was telling the team your story yesterday, and it's actually, I'm not going to tell it to everybody right now because I think we need to get you on a Texas Power Up the Future one, just how much can be accomplished in 3 years. And you can go from a really low to a really secure high, right? Doesn't mean life is perfect. If your life is perfect right now, wow, awesome. You should let me know. My life is certainly not perfect. And I think we're all just works in progress, but it's really nice to knock some things off the list as we go through this journey called life. Love that. Sarissa, morning.
Morning. I just want to shout out Michaela Sawatsky because she holds down the fort here for operations. And I know that I move fast and I'm always like, let's do this, let's do that. And Michaela just executes, and she does it with a happy smile on her face. And she probably half the time thinks I'm whack, but I'm just very grateful to have a partner like her. So thanks, Michaela.
Right on. Yeah, you got to be a little crazy in this business, right? Michaela, you rock. Thank you so much. Brandon, I see you.
What's up?
Morning.
I'll give a shout out to the team in general here in San Antonio for showing up this year, starting off the year with some really awesome energy. And then specifically, Tamala and Kaylee here, they got our first couple closings the first week of the year last week, and they have 2 or 3 or 4 more pendings each. So they really, drove the end of the year last year to really turn their business over. They're in their second year now. Alma, she set maybe 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 appointments already. So they're rolling in heavy with the energy. And then Alicia, she put me in touch with a potential recruit this week. And then Matt and Sai on the operations side, last year we're working towards a lot of ideas that we just hadn't implemented yet because it wasn't the right time, right? Maybe we hadn't deserved that timing yet. And so we started building the operations out and really taking those strides first to get the most important thing done. And now we're starting to implement these things that are going to help our agents move faster, move more efficiently. And it's exciting to watch it all play out. So shout out to them too.
That's pretty cool. Awesome. Man, appointment setting and closings, and really interesting thing you just said. We hadn't earned that yet. Which reminds me, I was talking to Jacqueline, which you guys all know. She's the cute blonde in Washington State, and she runs a really great business. So I'm talking like $150 million, $200 million a year, which is a lot of business, you guys. And I've been seeing her work weekends, and I'm like, I know this girl. I've known this girl for a long time. What's happening? So I text her and I'm like, what's going on? Are you working weekends now? And she's like, yeah, like currently I haven't earned the right to not work weekends. And I was like, this is $150 million like leader saying that. So it was just, yeah, there's things we earn. There's things that we have to re-earn. I get it. Right on, right on. Michael, going to you, sir.
Good morning. I want to shout out my team this morning. I was running our numbers for last year and we held 36% market share for our market center, and we closed 10% market share for the Permian Basin.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Holy
I
moly.
just wanted to do like a little humble brag on them.
Well, good morning, Midland, Odessa. Great job, you guys. I definitely would say that we are at like 0.0001% of that. Wow, great job. Great job. Killing it out there. So proud of you guys. I want to shout out a couple people over on our team. Like leadership and operations wise, we got really, I mean, everybody always does so well. So it's really hard to like, be like, oh, one person. We've got this amazing, like video and like just events and giveaways, projects going on. And Alexandra is driving that right now. And it's fun. I think we're in like month 5. So nothing happens overnight. You guys, right? You guys know nothing happens overnight. And here we are 5 months in, and it's starting to come together and it's so exciting. Shout out to Alexandra, who just puts in the work every single day, because every single day is boring, right? And then you get one cool thing and you're like, oh, this is nice, this is awesome. But it's like, 99.9% boring and 0.1% like cool. So appreciative of that. And Mackenzie, who is doing listings and transactions right now and just super bombarded. I'm seeing her work at like 7 o'clock and I'm like, okay, that's not healthy. We need to fix that. But so super appreciative of that. And then a couple agents, I saw one of our new agents, David, he got a new buyer from his sphere for 400,000. Just as a reminder, like your sphere is going to buy or sell with somebody either today, tomorrow, next year, the year after. They're going to buy and sell. And so you want to be the guy or the girl that they buy and sell with. And then the last shout out I had this morning was for Yvette on our team. She has been cranking out those open houses, and she just got a new pending from it, $430,000, which is not small potatoes for us, for anybody really, from open houses. So on that topic, I want to just kind of move into, I was thinking about like, okay, today we're going to talk about conversion, which is so freaking awesome. And I was thinking about, okay, well, we're going to talk about conversion because as soon as the market changes, something needs to change. And I thought, it's actually 2 things that need to change. It's the conversion we're going to talk about. And as awesome as Valencia is with, and you're going to take notes and you're going to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to apply this to my business. If you're not doing enough activity, you won't get the result Valencia's getting. So I was thinking about that because you guys know like the Austin team story way back when we started in Austin and we were just following Ben's model. And back then you guys will like die. Ben's model was 50 dials a week, like 50 dials. Like you pick up the phone and you call 50 people and you're done with your day. And they were getting massive success with that. So then that's what we were doing in Austin. And that's why we sold 8 houses in 6 months as an entire team, because it was not going to work, right? We had to go to 750 calls a week instead of 50 calls a week because we were brand spanking new, right? And so this was now, obviously we made it, the last 6 months of the year, we sold 92 homes and like the rate of activity changed, and it changed our results. So the reason I say that is Ben reminded us this week, and this is like a broken record, and I understand it because you probably already heard this from your leader, or you've heard it a million times and you're like, oh God, is she going to say it again? Okay. If the standard is 8 open houses and you look at your last 3 months, right? So 8 times 3 months is 24, right? So you're like, okay, so in the last 3 months, like, did I have my 24 open houses so that I could have those 1 to 2 closings from that lead gen lever. And it's like, I mean, I looked at my own team, so I'm not looking at anybody else's team, but I'm telling you, my team, we averaged 4 in 3 months, 6, 10, right? I have a few people who are like really taking it seriously. So, but look at that, every lead gen lever. Like, look at your prospecting lead gen lever. How are you doing with that? Look at your sphere lead gen lever. How are you doing that? Based on the standard, right? And it's a minimum standard. It's not even like, woo, we're killing it, right? Remember Gail Smith in her first year did 28 open houses in December, right? And you're like, well, how am I supposed to do that in a weekend? Nobody said it had to be in a weekend. In a week, right? And so anyway, I wanted to pitch that because what you're gonna hear from Valencia will be so awesome this morning, because she, like, this is her like area of expertise, and not anything that she says will absolutely change your business unless you also change like the activity level and the commitment to yourself, and then add this on top. So Valencia, you know what? I'm gonna just go straight to you, girlfriend, because you need no introductions. If you've never been around, this is your first time with us. Valencia is in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. Man, how long have you been around here, Valencia? How many years now?
5.
5 years. Lucky
5
number
years.
5, baby. All right. And she teaches an amazing course for forward coaching. But today she's just teaching us. She's not even charging us. She's just doing it because she loves us. So market's changed. I'm going to let you take over. Tell us kind of what we need to know and where you want to go with it. And if you need me to pop back in, you just tell me what you need.
Absolutely. Good morning, Texas. Hey, so good to see everybody. I can say howdy. This is a safe place. Thank you so much. Thanks, Adelina, for having me on. Today, we are going to talk about leveling up. It's really cool, all the activity we used to do and the results we used to get. But as Adelina said, that activity isn't going to work anymore. So now we're going to figure out how can we level up and make sure that we're really maximizing those lead gen levers. So before we talk about all the lead gen levers, I want to go one step before that and talk about the tools in our tool belt. Okay, so what tools do we have that we can kind of polish and clean up before we really hit those lead gen levers hard? So you don't need to know who I am. We kind of know, right? Awesome. So I hang out in Dallas with Jordan and the Davis team, and I get the opportunity to work with them. And I've been with the Davis team since 2017. Over the last 3 years, I have set about 185 appointments by myself. That's only cool or impressive if you knew that in 2019, I set less than 100 appointments. So just put it in perspective. It's cool now, but it wasn't cool back then, and we had to change some things. So after tearing down how we operated, and even after the market has shifted, we've made some more adjustments to really ensure that we are making an impact. Okay, I love interaction. So everybody get ready, get in the chat box, get your fingertips ready, because I'm gonna ask you a series of questions along the time of our time this morning, and I want you to engage with me, okay? So the first question is, how long have you been driving? How many years have you been behind the wheel? Did you start at 13? Did you start at 15? Did you just start driving? Are you just a passenger princess? What's going on? How long have you been behind the wheel? 10 years, 20 years, 22, 10, awesome. Keep them coming, 17, 4, that's cool too, 14-ish. We got a passenger princess, that'll work, 16 years, fantastic. Okay, more than I can mention. Thanks, Brenda. Now, in all of your years of driving or being behind the wheel or being a passenger princess, how many times would you say that someone has almost hit you? I mean, like swerved in your lane just a little bit, or sped up behind you and got over at the last second. How many times, or even just cut you off? How many times would you say that has happened? It's a really big number, thanks. Maurice just laughs. It's just too many to count. Every day, a lot. For sure, this happens to all of us. Now, when this happens, that near-death experience, and our heart kind of skips a beat and we panic and our hands get sweaty and it just freaks us out completely, how do we respond? Be honest, this is a safe place. I said y'all and howdy, so feel free to speak free. Rage, emotional, absolutely. The panic, like, oh my God, and you kind of almost get defensive, right? The rage comes out and you may speak French or Spanish, or you use some of your sign language that you picked up along the way. Yeah, absolutely. You piss, the curse words, that's the Spanish and French. That's what slips out. And you just get so upset. You get defensive automatically because we're human and it happens. And it happens very quickly, right? You change their name, you rename them a few different times, right? Because it just makes you so upset because you could have got hurt or your kids in the car, right? A lot of things could have happened. So as crazy as it may sound, in these moments, instead of getting upset or changing someone's name, we miss an opportunity to think a little bit further. So when this happens, when you get cut off, in that same attitude of the rage of I'm pissed, I'm cussing, what if you knew that they had, let's say, a loved one in the hospital they were trying to get to, and that's why they're driving like a maniac? Or they swerved a little bit in your lane because there's a choking baby in the back seat that they're trying to help. Then how does that change the way you respond? I know you kind of feel like a jerk now, right? Like, oh, if I was trying to get to the hospital, or if my, this situation was happening, now I got to get there very quickly. You're not thinking about it. So if we had that same sick loved one in the hospital that we were trying to get to, our perspective would change. Maybe we would get out of the way, right? And let them go by. Or we would seek to try to figure out, how could I help them? Like, what's going on in their world? We want to do the same thing with our leads. Instead of getting defensive, we want to become detectives. So everyone, pick up your imaginary magnifying glass and never let it go. It's your job to always figure out what is going on and how you can help them. Be a detective. You have to solve, why are they driving like a maniac? Why are they being rude on the phone? Why did they register? Why did they come in this open house? And it's your job to figure it out. So back to our tool belt, the biggest tool we're going to focus on today are our skills to ask questions. So before we can level up with our open houses or reach out to our sphere, we got to figure out how to ask better questions in the conversations that we come across. That makes sense? Fantastic. Now, times have changed tremendously. The market isn't the same as it used to be. You can't just make 50 calls and skate through the day. You got to make almost 300 in a day to get the same result of that one appointment. And I've realized that in my activity, making 100 dials a day isn't as cool as it used to be. I don't walk away with 2 appointments. I got to double, some days even triple the activity to get the same one appointment. So with that in mind, people don't always go to open houses. They don't always register online. But when they do, you're not the only one they visit. They go to Realtor, then they hop over to BKT Midland, then they hop over and see what's happening in San Antonio, then they go to Zillow, then they come back to Realtor.com. They're all over the place. And if they stop by your open house and sign in, I'm sure they visited a few more. So with the times have changed, you have to really be sure that you are remaining persistent in reaching out to these people. However they come into your world, whether it is an open house, whether they did register on your site, whether it is your sphere, continue to be persistent in your detective mindset to ask great questions. And be honest, how many times do you call a lead or do you follow up with that open house visitor before you say, this lead sucks, I'm never calling them again? Pop it in the chat, be honest. 1, thank you, Maurice, the bold first. Quite often, thanks, Adelina. Anybody else? How many times did you say you call? About 10? Thanks, Jesus. 10-ish. I like that number. Anybody else? No? Nobody? 5. Thanks, Elizabeth. For sure. And on average, the average agent calls a lead 3 times before never reaching out again. 3. But like I told you, persistence is where it all comes from, right? You ever heard the fortune is in the follow-up? So look at these brief stats. On the second call, your chances of making a sale are at 3%. If you call 3 times, your chances of making a sale are now at 5%. 3 times, 5% chance that you could make a sale. Absolutely, Elizabeth. It's time to double the activity. See, you get the theme? Are you picking up on it? We got to pick up the pace a little bit. Because in this same study, as they continue to do research, they have found that if you make 4 calls, your chances to make a sale increase to 10%. Just by making 4 calls. Now, if we do make 10 to 15 or even 5 to 12 calls, our chances to make a sale dramatically increase to 80%. 80% chance to sell or to convert the lead or to get them to buy a house or to sell their current home or purchase another investment property, all because we called them more than 5 times. Absolutely. And this isn't news that is brand new. You've heard this before. So if this was the stat where we were in the beginning, just imagine how many more times we have to reach out to these people because we are competing for their attention and their business, because we're not the only one they're reaching out to. Once you finally get them connected, hey, Adelina, what's up?
Well, so I've got a question. So
Sure.
you know what this sounds like? It sounds like work. And what, well, yeah, right, like same. And what I'm hearing a lot from agents is like, they feel like they're grinding because now they do have to make that 5th to 12th call. Like it's not as easy as 2nd or 3rd call, like the last 2 or 3 years of the market. How would you speak to that? Like, is the grind just something we need to get used to? Are we using the wrong mindset? Like, yeah, I've just been hearing it so much. And if you have any insight, feel free.
Absolutely. So when it does come down to the grind, is work, it sucks, and it is a part of how we succeed. I mean, think about working out. You can't just go to the gym and sit on the machine and pray the body works out, right? Or, sit in the line at Subway and just hope everything works out. You got to do those cardio days. You got to have the days where you eat clean and you count your macros and you pay real close attention to everything that goes in your body. So it's the same way in real estate. Lead generation is the cardio of the workout. It sucks, it's sweaty, it's painful. You might throw up, it's not fun at all, but it's a part that you cannot get around. So you got to go through it to get to it, okay? So if you want the commission, if you want the check, you got to do the lead gen. Now, it may not be phone calls. It could be open houses. It could be door knocking. But whatever the cardio is in your business, you have to do it. There's no easy button or a magic formula we can give you other than getting up and getting it done. Does that answer your question, Adelina? Okay, great. Fantastic. So once we finally get these people on the phone, remember, questions are really important. Now, before we jump into how to really ask great questions, I want to tell you about a good friend of mine, Bobby. Have y'all ever met Bobby? Have I ever introduced you to Bobby? No? Adelina's real confused. Well, this is Bobby on your screen, okay? This is Bobby. Now, Bobby is a 10-year-old boy that was in the car on the way to the movies with his sister. Sister's about 12. Bobby's 10, sister's 12, on the way to the movies with mom. Everybody with me? We're in the car? Fantastic. As we're driving to the movies, Bobby asked his mom, 10-year-old boy, hey mom, what's a condom? 10-year-old Bobby asked mom, what is a condom? So she says, okay, yeah, Adelina, so much fun. Mom proceeds to tell Bobby all about condoms, who makes them, why you use them, how to use them, what happens if you don't use them, just a full dissertation on condoms. Remember, Bobby is 10. So as they pull into the parking spot at the movie theater, mom looks in the rearview mirror, and this is Bobby's face. The emoji on your screen, Bobby is completely mortified. And his 12-year-old sister is in the same boat, same expression. They are terrified because their world, their childhood has just been early educated in a really aggressive way, right? They're overwhelmed to the max. And mom kind of adjusts the mirror and looks in the back seat and says, Bobby, what did you think it was? And he can't speak because he's still kind of shocked, right? He just had a full-blown education on condoms at 10. He takes a deep breath and says, Mom, I just thought condoms were things people lived in. So this whole time, Bobby was talking about condos. He meant to say condos, but because he didn't communicate effectively and mom didn't stop to ask a question and just kind of dove in with a bunch of information, she just ruined her 10 and 12-year-old their childhood. It's all gone. You can't come back from a conversation about condoms. You just can't do it. Especially at 10, you can't really do that. So I tell you about Bobby and his mom because when you're talking to a lead, it is very important that you seek clarity first before giving information. This is sharpening that tool in our tool belt. You can't just pick up a hammer and start whacking. You got to be sure you have everything in order before you put that nail in where it goes, okay? So be sure that we get clarity, because you never want your lead to have this facial expression, because you overwhelm them by over-educating them at the wrong time, okay? So seek first to get clarity before you just start passing out information. Because in this day and age, from all the things that have happened in our market, people get information nonstop. From CNN, from their news, from their cousin that was a realtor, from their aunt that bought a home 10 years ago, they're receiving all this information. So when someone asks you, well, how's the market? Well, I hear interest rates are terrible. Do not just jump in trying to over-explain the situation. Ask questions. Well, tell me what you've heard. What do you know? Right? So if Bobby's mom would have led with that question, what do you think a condom is? And Bobby said, things people live in. She could have easily said, oh no, son, those are called condos. Right? The conversation would have gone very differently, and we could have saved Bobby's childhood. The same thing with your lead. Let's get clarity on their question by asking better questions so you don't ruin the relationship or over-educate at the wrong time. That makes sense? Fantastic. So the first type of questions I want to cover with you guys are closed. Closed questions encourage a yes or no response. If I say, hey, Adelina, do you want pizza? How would you respond? Thumbs up. That's another way to say yes. She's good at sign language, right? Just keep it clean, Adelina, keep it clean. Thumbs up is a yes. Yes, she wants pizza. Okay, Joseph says always, absolutely. But it quickly shuts down the conversation, because now what do we talk about? I have to come up with another question. Or we just get in the car and go get pizza, right? So a closed question encourages a short and a one-word response, typically yes or no. Now, an open-ended question encourages more detail. Hey, Adelina, what do you think about pizza?
It's delicious. My favorite is from Via 313.
Fantastic. I know she thinks it's delicious, and now I know her favorite restaurant. It opens the conversation up because you allowed more, you encourage more information. We want to do the same thing with our leads. We want to encourage them to give us more information so we don't over-educate at the wrong time, okay? So open-ended questions. Next, get in your chat box. I'm gonna put a few series of questions up on the screen. These are question starters. Now, a question starter is a few words followed by a blank, and you could put anything in the blank. These question starters are great to commit to memory or to kind of programming your brain, because they can be used in any conversation, in any environment, whether we're talking about pizza or real estate, it can always fit. So when I put these questions up on the screen, I want you to pop in the chat and tell me, is it an open-ended question or a closed-ended question? It's a little bit of practice, because I told you what they are, but it doesn't help if you don't get a chance to practice, right? So just type a O if it's open and type a C if it's closed. Everybody clear on rules? Fantastic. The first question, are you still wanting to go to dinner? Are you still wanting to buy a house? Yeah, absolutely. Great job, guys. This is a closed-ended question because they could only say yes or no. Fantastic. You guys are good. Next question. Could you tell me more about why you like pizza, Adelina? Yes. Good job, DJ. Whoa, everybody. Great job. This is an open-ended question. Could you tell me more about why you want to move to this subdivision or this school district? All right. Next question. Were you looking for a dinner date? Were you looking for a new home? Absolutely. This is a closed question because they can just say, yeah, I was looking, or no, that wasn't me. Condo. Come on, Brandon, stay focused. Okay. So we keep going. How will buying a new house impact you? How will eating a cheeseburger impact you? Absolutely. This is an open question. And see how easily interchangeable these question starters are? You can use them in any conversation, whether with your little people or your honey bun. These questions are great to get more information. So if you ever get stuck in a conversation, don't panic. Ask an open question. It allows them to talk People love to talk about themselves, and it allows you to think. Tell me more about that. And while they're rambling, you can think about, where do I want to take this conversation? Oh, they mentioned this is important. Let me circle back to that. But the way we ask questions directly correlates to our success in the conversation. Okay, so if I ask closed questions the entire conversation, my lead is going to feel interrogated and not willing to talk to me. But if I ask open-ended questions, allow them to share information, and I seem interested and engaged, then it allows me to be more successful. Okay, I think we have a few more. Here we go. Do you want to go to dinner? Do you want to buy a house? Closed, absolutely. This is a closed question. It is closed question. What is important about buying a new house, selling your house? It's open. Absolutely. This is an open question. And this is a go-to favorite, an absolute classic. What's important? You're learning so much. And once you get someone's emotions, then they're more open to hear your logical next steps, because you took the time to hear about their emotions. Okay, I know questions are very simple, but they're a huge game changer. And I threw some pretty different information and some different ways to learn some things at you guys. So I want to know, what do you think? Where's your head right now?
You know, at this time of year, what it reminds me of, Valencia, is, you know, it's New Year. Everybody's kind of like making their calls to see how everybody's doing with their goals around buying a home. And I hear a lot of, you know, were you still planning on buying a home this year? Which just reminded me that's a closed question, because I wrote it down. I'm like, oh shoot, we were probably practicing that script as a closed question, as opposed to, you know. So Valencia, can you tell me a little bit more about your homeownership goals this year?
Absolutely, that's a great question. Way to adjust that, Adelina, for sure. What are your plans? Next year is coming up. What do you plan on doing? Really good idea. What else do you guys think?
I like the analogy that you brought up, Valencia, that story that you told, because it's really easy to try to just go on their side of the table and just to kind of take where the conversation wherever they're trying to take it. And that's not the point, right? We're trying to ask questions so we can guide them to where the conversation probably needs to go to help them hit their goals. And so focus on, you know, asking those open-ended questions so that we don't start going down a path that wasn't the intention of the call, or it wouldn't even help to get to know them that way.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right, Brandon. And that story, names were changed and so were details, but the story is still the facts. And it was actually one of our team members. It happened to her and her brother, but I won't tell you which one, but it is a real story. And I'm glad you brought that up. And oftentimes as agents, we just throw information without seeking clarity or asking great questions. Anyone else, thoughts or comments you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think it's so easy. Yeah, I think it's so easy with that, especially when you get a pretty intense lead, to ask closed questions. And so much of the time, intense leads, there's more opportunity there, because there's a sense of desperation. And so by asking open-ended questions, you can diffuse the situation so fast. So I think it's closed questions for me is such a lazy approach to be able to kind of move on to the next thing. And open questions really challenges yourself and honestly allows you to have such better conversations. So such a great reminder.
Yeah, for sure, Daniel. And you're right. I'm glad you brought that up, that when you have a conflict or you feel in the intensity in the conversation, tell me what's important about that. Like, just break it all the way down. Let's jump to emotions and let's cool the situation. That's a really good point, Daniel. And I heard someone speaking. Was it a lady?
Yes, and that was me.
Yeah,
I had a question. I have a very bad habit of asking a closed question. So I'll make it like a compound sentence. So I'll follow it up with like, you know, an open-ended one. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we call those stacked questions, and we want to stay far away from them. When you ask a question and it doesn't come out quite right, or it's closed, leave it. Let them answer it, or let them say, huh, what'd you say? And then take the opportunity to clean it up and re-ask the question. But following up with your question with another question could be overwhelming. and it could be too much for the lead. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. Was there another question or comment? Go ahead, Brandon. What's up?
Hey, what's up? I do have a question. I was just thinking about this. We've been working on closing a lot more, closing on the phone, closing in person, closing all the time, right? And so I'm sure, or at least I'm curious for you, at the end of those conversations or at the end of when we'd be sitting in front of somebody or when we're about to ask for their business, that would be a key, or would you agree that that's when we need to ask those closed questions? Or
Yes.
how do you do that in your appointments? How do you decipher, right? Because sometimes puppy dog close, sometimes close them hard. How do you approach that?
Yeah, I would agree. I like that tie down in the middle of that, Brendan. I would agree that using closed questions are great for tie downs. In the beginning of the conversation, when you initially start speaking to a lead, we want to keep them open so we can get a clear understanding. And throughout the conversation, we slowly switch to closed questions so we can get those yeses along the way. So the close is more concise. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah. And one of the things we've noticed is like we'll get to the point where the open-ended questions, we got the stuff. And then at the end, sometimes I think too much we end with an open-ended question, like, so can we work? Can you meet me? You know what I mean? And that's like kind of the opposite. So I think we're rushing the close too soon. This helps us kind of slow it down and really like get to know them so they have a reason to close with us. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I completely agree. We have to get an understanding before we close. You can't just walk up to a girl at a bar and say, hey, let's go home. You don't even know me. Like, what, huh? You have to spend time, right? The same thing with the lead. We can't just jump to the finish. We have to build a relationship, establish rapport, get to know each other before we move forward. Good point, Brandon. Okay, so action items. It's really cool, the information we share, and it's never our goal to impress you. We want to inspire you to be able to go and implement it, right? To go and get things done. So what you're going to do is level up your questions. That sounds cool, Valencia, but how? That's a great question. I'm so glad you guys were thinking out loud. To level up your questions, I am encouraging you to pull your scripts. Look at them. What type of questions are in your scripts? Are you shutting down the conversation because you're asking 5 closed questions at the beginning of the script? Are you kind of deterring your lead because you're not figuring out why things are important? Are you sharing too much information from the beginning? What's going on with your script? And if you're thinking, well, V, I just have a series of questions. They're all programmed in my brain. I don't have a script. Cool. Write out the questions you always use. What are your go-to questions? Write them out. And then evaluate them. Are they all closed-ended? Could you sprinkle some open-ended questions in there to make them more powerful? Because remember, the type of questions you ask directly correlate to your success in that conversation. So when leveling up, reevaluate what questions are you asking? What scripts are you using on a day-to-day basis? Look at them. What questions are you asking in conversations at open houses? How should they be adjusted to make them more impactful? All right, fantastic. Now, Converted, you get so many more details and so many more tips and tricks to help you convert at a higher level. So if anyone is ever interested in converting with the group coaching, we actually start January 26th. So in 2 weeks, Converted is starting for the first time in 2023. Here's the email address for you to go and ask any questions to me if you have it, or the website if you want to figure out what is Converted again. Like, I'm not ready to receive this information. I'll look at it later. Fantastic. Jot down that website and you can go back to it when you're ready to be educated and see what's happening with Converted and what's going on, because we never want to overwhelm you with information. So feel free to visit us online to get more details. And if you're like, well, group coaching really isn't my jam, I don't want to be sitting in the classroom on Zoom with all these people, cool. We can hang out one-on-one and really focus on what are your opportunities in the business, what's happening in your conversations that you're missing the opportunity to convert at a higher level. This is a bit more intense because I'm all in your space because it's just me and you. So if one-on-one is what you want to do, feel free to shoot me an email. I'll be happy to see what program will be best to help you maximize your opportunities with all of the lead gen levers you implement in your business. Fair?
I love that. I love that. And I love that it's 2 weeks away. I love that it's in January, right? It's not, any time is a perfect time to level up, right? There's never there was never the right time, but man, this is an appropriate time with the market shift. And if your market hasn't shifted, man, I was talking to somebody the other day and they literally have 2 weeks of inventory in their market still. That is not my market. We have 4.5 months of inventory in the Austin market right now, right? I mean, that is our absorption rate is high, very, very high, right? So our market has completely changed. Your market may have completely changed. Anytime there's a change, right? It's, I think about it this way, Valencia. I love that you talked about a 10-year-old boy, right? My kids are teenagers. The way I parent them when they're a teenager is very different from when I parent them when they're a toddler, right? If I acted the same way and parented the same way when they're teenagers, just like I was doing when they were 3 and 4 years old, that doesn't work, right? And so what happens is we're often saying the same thing, doing the same thing, same amount of activity as the last market, right? That doesn't work. It wouldn't work in any other part of our lives, but in our business, we're like, hope and pray, fingers crossed, something's gonna change. It's no, it's changed, it's changed, and it's okay that it's changed. Let's just level up. So I love that. Do you know if there's any kind of discount for group coaching, or do you have any idea on that?
Yes, all of our place partners do get a discount. The forward team knows who you are, kind of like Santa, when you're sleeping, when you're awake. So they'll automatically apply that discount for you guys because y'all are Place Nation.
I love that. I love that. Awesome. So you guys all have Valencia's information on your screen. Here's what I've learned in the last, gosh, I don't know, 20 years or so now. Everything you want to happen for your business, for your life, absolutely can happen. You could have Alicia's story where you were at rock bottom 3 years ago and now you're flying high, right? That is not reserved for the few. It is not reserved for the ones that just get lucky. That we have every resource that it takes for us to succeed. You just got to reach out and do it. You just got to plug in and do it. You just got to do the work. One of the things you said, Valencia, was you got to go through it to get through it, to it, through to that. I was whoa, I wrote that down. Man, so appreciative. If I cut you off, you just let me know if you want to keep going.
No, I want to be respectful of everyone's time because I know they're so eager to level up their questions and reevaluate them before they start lead genning this morning. So I don't want to hold anybody back.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Well, then on that note, you guys, if this was valuable to you and you want to do this for 15 weeks with Valencia in her group coaching, it is the most entry-level way that you could do it, right? Very cost-effective is what I would say. And then at the end you get hers and Jordan's script packet, and also Debbie's script book. So it's pretty cool. And if right now is not the right time for you, talk to your team leader of what that looks like. What is the right time for you? How are you guys going to implement the changes that need to happen? Either way, guys, have an awesome weekend. Get those closings, get those pendings. Got to beat Brandon's team at this point, because ain't nobody set 10 appointments in my team in the last 11 or 12 days. So we're all running, and we're all going to get 10% market share Midland. So that's pretty cool. And we're all going to set 300 appointments like Valencia, right?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, right. And so we'll see you next week, guys, with new content. And then the week after that, and the week after that, we are the people that they can count on. We're going to show up. If you choose to show up, it'll probably make a difference in your life as well. Bye, guys. Have a good rest of your week. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you.